Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to Harping on Rugby. This is our weekly newsletter called the 80 Plus Column. Our main content each week is our wrap podcast, which have analysis of the latest match for the Leinster or Ireland men's team. In fact, last weekend it was Leinster and Ireland, as we had two wrap pods to record. Be sure to check them both out if you missed them. All that means that we have this 80 Plus column as a sort of a weekly newsletter for taking a quick look at the rest of the rugby world just to see what's going on. For this video, it's all about our feature known as the Front Five, which is a selection of 5 eye-catching, egg-chasing quotes and links from around the rugby media landscape. As you can see, I've got 5 headings lined up here. So let's crack on with this week's article, starting with this one from Rory Keane, extra.ie. See there on the screen, there's a QR code if you want to check out the link. The headline reads, Munster stall on new head coach decision with veteran Kiwi consultant appointment. Now, this is the latest news from Munster. Obviously, Graham Rowntree leaving when he did. I don't think it could have been at a worse time of the season. I mean, you know, the focal point of every season, but especially a team like Munster's, is the Champions Cup. And to go a few rounds of the URC and then losing your head coach, especially one that's been so successful for Munster since he took over, you know, it really has an effect on your season. So it's a situation you really want to resolve sooner rather than later. And they kind of had to do something before the Champions Cup kicked off. And they made this move. They've gone with Chris Boyd as a sort of a consultant, sort of a temporary. Ian Costello is officially the head coach. So, it might be kind of a Leo Stu Lancaster kind of situation, sort of a senior coach advisory capacity kind of thing. We'll see what happens. But the quote I've chosen from the article reads, the veteran New Zealander is seen by Munster as a steadying influence while the province seek a full-time replacement for Graham Rowntree. So basically, big matches coming up now. Not a lot of coaches are available at this stage of the season because, you want to start with a new team in a preseason and you want to sort of a lead in time to it, not to be dropped right in. So luckily for them, Chris Boyd was available, and, no better person to offer an opinion than Three Red Kings, Munster fan, and excellent content creator himself. And his quote says he's one of the best rugby brains in the business. He's very happy. He says it is a good bit of business. So obviously, it seems like there's approval from the Munster fans there. So hopefully that can bring them just, it's not the ideal bit of stability in the coaching box they'll need. But it'll definitely help with that for the weeks going forward, especially at the very start of the Champions Cup campaign, which this year for the Irish provinces comes just 1 week after a test match, which is really awkward, but it's just, it's the way it is and the way this season worked out. Okay, we move on to a second province for our second article. This is from bbc.com, and it reads, Ulster don't want to see Stockdale and Cooney leave. Bit of speculation. Again, you don't want to see this in the news the week before you start your Champions Cup campaign. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer to me that you don't want to be, you don't want this confusion. Like, why have this news now? It could be agents trying to, stimulate the chances of a better deal if they want to stay. You can't blame the likes of Cooney. You can't blame the likes of Stockdale for looking outside for other options, because it's clear that there's others ahead of them in the Irish team. It's the way rugby works. I mean, from an Irish rugby standpoint, it's good that we have these quality players that aren't making the team. I mean, I know that sounds weird, but you can only fill 23 jerseys at a time for a test match. And when you've got 2 or 3 options, somebody has to miss out. And it's a good thing for the team that somebody has to miss out. Obviously, it's not good for the person that misses out. But what happens is a year goes by, another year goes by, and then the players are still around, and the players that missed out are still playing. But other youngsters are coming through the ranks, and you want to promote the younger kids as well. So it's tough on those. So eventually they go, when a contract comes up, they've got to look abroad. They've got to start thinking of looking abroad if they're not going to be seen in the test team. It is a shame. There's the usual nonsense out there. It's like, if they were Leinster players, it'd be different. It's like, whatever. Cooney actually was a Leinster player for one thing, but it's not. I don't buy into that narrative, but that's a different topic. I would love to see both Stockdale and Clooney stay at Ulster for obvious reasons. The best players, they're two of their top performers, and they're at a time when they have their new coach Richie Murphy. There's, he's trying to bring in a new philosophy there. He's trying to get the team settled. He would definitely want those two to stay, but like I say, you can't blame them for looking to move on. So we'll see what happens there down the line. Okay, our third article comes from Wales Online, and it's dealing with the ever evolving saga that is the Welsh Rugby Union. The headline reads, seismic new Welsh rugby deal offered revealed as the WRU seeks unprecedented control. Now, this is another dawn for Welsh rugby. There's been seemingly dozens of them over the past, I don't know how many years. There's always this new articles that going now they changed the format of their club rugby. They changed the structure of the regions. They're changing. Now they're going to do this. Now they're going to do that. I hope it works. I really hope it works. There's a lot of Ireland, Wales rivalry and mutual, banter. You could call it even hatred, maybe a little bit back and forth, especially on social media. But the fact of the matter is, rugby needs a strong Wales. Same as with the provinces. Irish rugby needs a strong Ulster, needs a strong Munster, needs a strong Connacht. We need a strong Wales out there competing. We don't want to see them getting wooden spoons. We don't want to see them losing 12 matches in a row. It's not good for them. It's not good for the game. But they do have to get their structures right. It's not just on the pitch. Now, that said, it may not be just on the pitch, but whatever they do, however they restructure, who pays what. This article it lists what the new agreement is, percentages, how much the Welsh Rugby Union pays, how much the benefactor from the regions pay, how much control they have over team. They've tweaked all of that. It's all there in the article. But what I'm thinking is, as long as Warren Gatland is still the coach of Wales, how much can they say has changed? At the moment now, they're on this run of how many 12 games, 12 defeats in a row, and it's not looking. I think they play France first in the Six Nations, so that streak is likely to continue. And I don't mean this. I'm not saying it's all his fault, but for his own sake, surely he's tarnishing his legacy by staying. But my question is there anybody else who wants the job at the moment? And if it is true that nobody else no actual quality coaches are looking to fill this role at the moment, is there any changes that they're making that's going to have any effect? We're just going to have to wait and see. This is another change. Again, it's very strange. They're announcing this just before the Champions Cup. We're already 6, 7, 8 weeks into a season. Why don't they announce these changes during the off season? I can't wrap my head around the timing here. But anyway, listen. The quote I chose from this article is, the real sea change is the creation of a center of excellence, which will be able to request clubs over playing positions and playing minutes of players of natural interest. Now, for me, it seems that these changes, they're getting closer and closer and closer to the Irish model. But they don't want it. They would be a bad PR move for them to come out saying we're just copying the Irish model. But it looks like they're doing it the long way around. I don't know. It's like they want to copy Ireland, but they know the fans won't be crazy about that. A lot of their fans are more interested in playing Premiership clubs and joining the Premiership. The way the Premiership is going, I don't know. But listen, it's a mess. It's still a mess. I don't think this really cleans it up, but it isn't. It's the announcement of a new system, so obviously you have to give it time and see how it works. And I really, honestly hope to God it does, because you want to see things on a much more level than some of the stories that come out of Welsh rugby week in, week out over the season. I'm embarrassed for the fans with the way that's going, and I do genuinely hope it gets resolved. Okay, so that's enough on that. We'll see what happens next. Now, fourth article is from Talking Rugby Union, and the headline reads, Ilona joins Bristol Bears women. It's big news in women's rugby. Now, just about a year ago, we were all talking about Antoine Dupont going from 15s into 7s in time for the Olympics. Now we've got almost the exact reverse of that in every respect. We've got someone going from sevens to 15s. It is a superstar. This is in the women's game, and this is just before the Rugby World Cup. So you've got Ilona, who is a genuine, bona fide superstar in sevens rugby on the women's circuit, and she's a big superstar in America. Now there's a couple of aspects to this story. The first one is she's attracted a lot of negative attention in America, unfortunately, and it sickens me to see all this. It's transphobic, it's misogynistic, it's everything. That's an element that that sort of spilled over from what's going on in American politics at the moment. So and I would love to talk about that, but this isn't the forum for that. But it is a reality with Ilona Meyer. So in some ways, it's kind of good that she gets out of that for a while. She's coming over to play in England. It's a 3-month contract with the Bristol Bears. So maybe that's one of her reasons to get out of that and just play rugby. Also, she would be interested in playing 15s and getting a handle on 15s to play in the World Cup, which is going to be in England, and which the USA would be, consider themselves contenders for doing well. So there's a lot of aspects there. But there's the broader aspect as well, promoting the women's game. It's the women's sport is going up in popularity. That's just a fact. It's rising every year, and it's nowhere near reaching its peak. I really don't know. I don't know if there is an actual peak. I mean, it'll reach the men's game levels at one stage. We won't be talking, well, what sport, 20, 30 years down the line, men's, women's sport, which did you mean when you said sport? And, for me, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I'm recording this on Wednesday. On Tuesday night, I was going to take my daughter to the Irish women's European qualifier. They played Wales. Unfortunately, they lost. Very unlucky. That penalty decision was shocking, I thought. I didn't bring my daughter because, for one thing, she had football training herself, and I wanted her to do that, but also it was bloody freezing. That's the I could have bought tickets on the day. They wouldn't have been great tickets because there was a huge crowd there, and that's what I mean. The popularity of the women's game is growing. Football, rugby, all these sports, but she's 9. She plays for a club herself, so I'd rather she did that. But anyway, listen. The point is, the women's game is growing. We need to promote the superstars. We need to learn more about the superstars. And I think that if she can come into the women's game in 15s, now obviously they're not the same amount of space as there was. She's coming into England, the English Premiership, which is arguably probably the best league in the world at the moment. She's coming into that environment. She's going to learn the 15s game ahead of the World Cup. I think it's a good thing all around. I've heard a lot of negatives about it for all different kinds of reasons, but for me, it sounds good, and I wish her and the Bristol Bears and everyone involved in the women's game all the best. It's a big year for women's rugby with the World Cup coming up, and we'll see how she gets on. Okay, fifth and final article here. Now, usually this is our clickbait of the week, but this isn't that. We're going with an article from balls.ie. And it's Joshua Bell Curran, and the article reads, apology issued after Castore Leinster jerseys are sent without a crest. Now, if this was a once-off, if I thought for a second this was a once, it only happened once, there'd be no point in talking about it. But the fact of the matter is, Castore in particular, this brand of clothing in particular, have a reputation for this. I think it's Wolves, the English Premiership team. There was a case where I think a player ended up going out in the pitch without a crest or without a logo or without something. But this mistakes with crest missing and logos missing and all sorts of going wrong in delivery. It's a common theme. And the quote I have is a quote in the article from a fan who wrote on social media. Firstly, it takes over 2 weeks for delivery, and then the jersey arrives without the crest. I mean, I have personal experiences as well with this, not the crest, but I did order, it's the first Leinster jersey I bought in years. I decided to buy, and all my Leinster jerseys, I had no white one. So I wanted to get this year's white one. So I ordered it. I ordered it off the Leinster Rugby website. And Leinster had a game that weekend at the Aviva, and I was going to go to it, and I wanted to wear it. But it didn't arrive. And, the way you track it, and it wasn't arriving. So I went into the tracking thing and I found out it was coming from Holland. Okay. And it just, I mean, whatever about maybe that's what, that's where the brand is. That's where the brand's headquarters is. And that's where their factory is and all this stuff. That's fine. But I mean, sorry if I'm being simplistic here, right? But if I'm a fan of Leinster and I'm based in Dublin and the team is based in Dublin and I go to the Dublin-based team's website and I order a jersey from that website for the team for which I'm buying the jersey, I'd expect the jersey to be coming from Ireland, from Dublin, not to have to come from Holland. I mean, that's, you'd understand it if it was if you were ordering it from the Castore website and, things like that. But I wasn't impressed. And it took over a week for the jersey to come. And I had to email a couple of times. They were good replying when I did email them. That was fine. But it just didn't sit well for me. And that's why this article stood out. And of course, the crest. I mean, somebody in the factory check the jerseys before they go in the packages. I mean, duh. When you've got a reputation for this one, it's happened before. What it seems to me like, I worked in a sports shop years ago, and we'd often have there'd be merchandising people in charge. They're mostly girls, but I mean, girls do like sports. I've already said that, but a lot of girls don't. And the merchandising girls would love the fashion. They were good at making the store look nice. But they didn't really understand. They had to keep coming over to me when they're displaying jerseys. What team is this? What team is that? Because they didn't know. And when you have people, so it was good that they got that information from me, but I'm getting the impression that in some of these warehouses, they don't simply have, at the important points of the process, they don't have an actual sports fan, giving a final judgment on the products before they go out. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, well, that looks good. That looks good. They don't realize the necessity to have the crest. There's nobody along the verification process in the factory of just seeing, well, is the logo there? Because some people say, well, I'm not even, there's the jersey. I don't even know if a logo should be there, but it's a bloody Leinster jersey. The Leinster logo should be there. A sports fan would know that. It's just simple hiring people, putting people in the right places. That's my thoughts on that. Anyway, I'm rambling too much, but anyway, I thought this was an interesting story. And if you've had problems ordering from Castore since Leinster took over, or if you've any issues getting any kind of merchandise, do let me know. Get in touch on social media or email or whatever, and we'll see if we can find out anything for you. But this story caught my eye because I had a similar experience. The crest was there when I got the jersey, and I did like the jersey, but it took way too long. I mean, you can order from Amazon, and this isn't a plug for them, but you can order from them and literally get delivered to your door in a couple of days. And when, like I say, when the team is Dublin and you're ordering from Dublin, and you expect it to get there in a couple of days. That's what I'm saying. It's maybe get a few over from the factory and have them here so you can send them and get them out quickly. I don't know. That's just me. Okay, listen, that's enough for this week. That completes our latest Front Five. Remember, we do a lot of other regular features on that 80+ column, so you can get it all by heading over to our website at harpinonrugby.blog. We've got features where we look at all the other leagues around the rugby world. We talk about our last rap pods. There's a troll patrol where we pick out someone who did a bit of trolling online this week, and there's all sorts of stuff there. So listen, next up here at Harpin Manor, we're going to turn our attention to Leinster's opening Champions Cup fixture in Bristol. Since that is a Sunday kickoff, our preview won't post until around lunchtime on Saturday. And by the way, all going well, that will be Keego's 100th Harpin Pod appearance. So please be sure to subscribe to our channel, as well as all our other social media platforms. You can find those at linktree/harpinonrugby. Until next time, stay safe, everyone. Slán.